You've probably seen the joke. Gen X doesn't care. Millennials are entitled. Gen Z is too sensitive. Maybe you've even laughed along. Or maybe you felt a quiet sting, because none of those labels ever quite fit the person you know yourself to be. Maybe you're the Gen Xer who learned to stay quiet because no one was really listening. The millennial who was told to dream big and then handed a world on fire. The Gen Zer who feels everything deeply but is tired of being called fragile for it. From the outside, it looks like attitude. From the inside, it's adaptation. Every generation is shaped by the emotional climate it grows up in. Not just the economy or technology, but the tone of the house, the background noise of the world, the unspoken rules about what feelings are allowed. If you grew up in the shadow of uncertainty, divorce rates rising, layoffs common, adults distracted, like many in Generation X, you may have learned self-reliance early. Independence wasn't rebellion, it was protection. When the emotional ground feels shaky, you build your own floor. If you came of age with promise and pressure, you can be anything. Alongside student debt and social comparison, like many millennials, you may carry a constant hum of striving. Achievement becomes identity. Burnout becomes normal. Your battery is always half drained, but you keep moving anyway. And if you were raised fully online, watched global crises unfold in real time, and were encouraged to name every feeling, like many in Generation Z, you may have developed sharp emotional awareness. You can detect inauthenticity in seconds. You value boundaries. You talk openly about mental health. And yet, you're accused of being too much. None of this is random. There's a simple psychological idea called adaptation. Your nervous system learns what keeps you safe. If staying quiet reduced conflict, you learned quiet. If achieving earned love, you learned achievement. If speaking up created change, you learned to speak. Over time, those strategies stop feeling like choices. They start feeling like personality. Another theory, social identity theory, suggests we shape ourselves around the groups we belong to. When the culture says people like you are this way, you either resist it or slowly, unconsciously wear it like a mask. But here's the deeper layer most people miss. Underneath every generational stereotype is the same human need: safety, belonging, control in a world that rarely feels controllable. Gen X might withdraw not because they don't care, but because emotional self-sufficiency once felt safer than depending on anyone. Millennials might overwork not because they're obsessed with status, but because stability feels fragile and effort feels like control. Gen Z might set strong boundaries not because they're delicate, but because they watched what happened to the mental health of those before them. Different coping styles, same nervous system. Here's the contrarian truth. Research on resilience shows that flexibility, not toughness, is what predicts long-term well-being. And each generation is developing strengths the others sometimes lack. Gen X carries grit and independence. Millennials carry collaboration and emotional vocabulary. Gen Z carries boundary awareness and cultural sensitivity. These aren't flaws. They're adaptations to different storms. Of course, every strength has a shadow. Independence can become isolation. Striving can become exhaustion. Sensitivity can become hypervigilance. When a coping strategy hardens into a cage instead of a refuge, that's when it hurts. But that doesn't make your wiring wrong. It just means your nervous system is still trying to protect you. You are not too soft. You are not too cynical. You are not too entitled. You are shaped by the world you survived. And maybe the real growth isn't proving your generation right. Maybe it's borrowing strengths from the others. A little more softness if you're guarded. A little more rest if you're driven. A little more steadiness if you're overwhelmed. Not to change who you are, but to expand who you're allowed to be. So instead of asking what's wrong with this generation, maybe the quieter question is, what did this generation had to adapt to? And what are you still adapting to now? Tell me in the comments, what stereotype about your generation never felt true to you? In the next video, we'll explore a deeper psychological truth most people never hear: how the era you grew up in quietly shaped your attachment style and the way you love.